Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is RHJunior coming to you live on Spleen Squeezins. Yeah, it's another day. It's been a few since my last show, broadcast, angsting, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I had a generous donation come in a short while ago of about $150. I must say, you know who you are. I won't mention you by name, but whoever you are, but you know who you are. Thank you very much. It's a start. It's a good start on what I've got to raise by the end of this month. So, it's a good thing. I wanted to say thank you. For those of you who don't know, I'm right now. I've got the candle. I've got the wolf is not merely at the door. He's lounging on the couch in the living room, asking if I've got anything in the fridge to drink. I have an enormous electric bill this month. I've been throwing money at them hand and fist for the past 2 months, and I mean, you'd think that I was trying to light up downtown Cincinnati, the way the bills have added up. And it just comes down to the fact that I pay most. For several months I could only pay most of the bill, and that caught up with me. So I'm trying to raise the cash. I on top of the electric bill, you got the lot rent, you got the you know what, if you're out there doing the adult thing, if you're adulting with any consistency, you know what I'm talking about. It's just bills, and they are beating me half to death. So, I'm throwing the hat out and saying please. But let's see here. I'm gonna be trying to work on some of these commissions here, trying to do. Anyway, let's transfer. I'm really hungry right now. I'm waiting for it to arrive. Hungry. Got about another hour or so before I can get to eat. Hungry. I hate being hungry. This is the first time I've actually felt genuinely hungry in a while. I just not felt well. Just not felt well at all. It's interesting. You look at that picture of Obama next to the other candidate. One's supposed to be black, the other's supposed to be white. Yet their skin tone is almost identical. Isn't that interesting? He's not black, as in Obama is not African American. He is half white and half Kenyan. Not Kenyan. I forget what's. Well, he's not African American. He is not descended from slaves. He is an immigrant. But you know that issue. Look, we knew 8 years ago that the law no longer mattered. We just had it confirmed with Hillary. What are we going to do? Our forefathers would have been storming the steps of the White House with muskets in hand by now. But we have been gorged into a stupor. If we were, if we were still the lean and hungry people who made this country strong, we would not have tolerated this. Nowadays, we basically we do everything like we're fattening ourselves for slaughter. Moo. I'm not gonna be much use for a while. I'm just still hungry. I'm hungry. Just rawr, starving at the moment. It's about darn time, really. What is this? What is? Oh, that doesn't look right. I think one of the settings on my pen got changed. And I have no idea what the setting is that's changed. Well, that's interesting. Just my imagination, I guess. What can be said? Nothing. Black Lives, I'm so sick of using the term that the Black Lives Matter. We ought to call them by something else a lot less flattering, frankly. They literally bought an entire city to us. I showed them they blocked off an entire freeway. That is against the law anywhere. And Obanzo was out there the next day. Good work. Complimenting the Black Lives Matter thugs on their contributions, you know. I think we could nuke Washington, D.C., and nothing of value would be lost. Why is this line so thin? No anti-aliasing. Don't know if you can hear it, but you'll notice this guitar solo that they're playing. I don't know if you can hear it. Have you noticed that you hear this in between certain notes, you hear a little squeak noise, sort of a little squeak noise. Once you notice it, you can never stop hearing it. Uh, what that is the sound of the guitar player's finger sliding up and down the strings from note to note. Sometimes you can hear it, sometimes you can't, and but once you hear it, it's so distracting. One of the downsides of playing the guitar, because every single note you hear it. Might as well Twitter this booger. Okay, I got all these other buttons like Google Plus and Blogger and Reddit and Tumblr, Pinterest, and a couple in foreign languages, LinkedIn and StumbleUpon. I don't know if submitting any of these, should it just auto share? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they. I think I really need to redesign Big Malarkey. It's P Dude. Come on in. How's it going? Staying alive, staying alive. Kicking the tires, lighting the fires, that kind of thing. How you been? Oh, great, great, great. Not sure if that pen works. Someone said it didn't earlier. Working fine for me. Oh, okay. Well, thank you, and you have a good day now. You too. Take care of yourself out there. Yeah, I'm making a few tweaks to Big Malarkey's design here a little bit. Uh, let's just say his original design is a little Freudian looking. Better to nip that problem in the bud, you know. Ain't been the same since the introduction of Stephen Magnet. If you know what I'm referencing, good for you. Mm. Well, Well, uh, yeah. I've been sort of regaining a little bit of interest in cryptozoology. You know, Sasquatch, Loch Ness, stuff like that. Well, it's been on my mind at the very least. Not really. I can't say I've been burrowing into any new books on it or anything. If you think about it a bit, it's interesting how much overlap there is out there in fringe groups. You know, people tend to think of various fringe groups as being insular, but there's so much interesting overlap. You take cryptozoology, which overlaps with paranormal investigators, which overlaps with UFO hunters, conspiracy theorists, survivalists. Uh, well, you get the idea. There's a surprisingly strong chain linking, for instance, doomsday preppers with ufologists. The one common thing that's connecting them all is that all these fringe groups, by definition, they're out on the fringe, they're out on the edge. Their commonality, the thing that puts them out on the fringe, is that they do not expect the world to automatically be as it appears. They believe that there are hidden aspects to it that are They believe there are aspects of it that are either being hidden from us or just simply aren't being observed. And to a certain extent, that is the mentality of science. How was it that Newton put it? That we were children playing on the beach. Every now and then we would find, every now and then we would find a shinier pebble or seashell that caught our eye, brighter than the usual. And all the while, out beyond us, the great oceans of unknown truth stretched out before us. We disparage most of these people being out on the fringe simply because they aren't in. But it's those people who push out the boundaries. They're the ones that are willing to explore and examine and chase uh, dragons and ghosts and mysteries and myths out over the horizon. They're the ones that still are trying to prepare for the unknown. Some of them are genuine loonies, but that's a consequence of sailing out into uncharted waters. You're going to get uh, banged up on some really unusual reefs, you know? And there's a place for obsessions and eccentricities. That's an interest. That's the thing that that's a peculiar thing about Christians. We believe in the paranormal, for instance. We believe in the supernatural, but we get oddly squeamish when people start investigating it. We look, our theologians look askance at anybody who tries to bring out the scientific instruments and analyze the claims being put before us. True, some of that is due to the fact that many of these so-called paranormal investigators are really just occultists. Plying their trade and trying to make it look respectable. So, under certain amount of caution is recommended. But well, take for instance the examination of the existence of ghosts. Um, if we had not entertained the notion of scientifically examining the claims of hauntings and such, we would be much poorer intellectually. One of the things they discovered is there is a very good reason for many of the claims of hauntings. It seems that several of the sites that are, places that have become that gained a reputation as being notorious for being haunted, people describing auras of fear, that kind of thing. Well, there's a scientific reason for it. Let me see if I can pull up the information now. Turns out that many of these places, due to either in some places it was the acoustics of the building, in other places it was the plumbing vibrating. But there is a certain frequency. There is a certain frequency at which fear is induced. It is it's called infrasound. Let's see. Infrasonics is between 20 hertz to 0.001 hertz. Now, around 17 hertz, wavelength of 17 hertz, it causes anxiety, fear, uneasiness, sorrow, revulsion, chills down the spine. And it turns out that in many of these so-called haunted houses, there would be something in that house that generated that sound. Sometimes the plumbing, sometimes the wind blowing through the eaves at just the right angle. Sometimes echoes generated by the acoustics. Between 17 and 19 hertz. And the interesting thing is that is about the frequency of a tiger's growl. It's apparently, they believe it's hard. It's just a survival instinct hardwired into the human nervous system. We hear or feel that basso rumble, and it triggers our stress response, because it means that a large, dangerous predator is nearby. And here's another one. They found out that you know the sound of fingernails on a chalkboard, nails on a chalkboard. Yee! Apparently, that is this. They examined it and they played it back, and it is almost perfectly identical. The sound of fingernails on a blackboard is almost perfectly identical to the sound to the distress cries of particular breeds of howler monkeys. You know, these animals, they see a dangerous predator, they shriek their heads off, and the sound is you know, yee. It's these. Basically, these guys, these sounds are hardwired into our nervous system as a response to danger, particularly of the kind you'd find from out in the wilderness. In case you're wondering what that image is with John Goodman, text is way too small to read. It's a recounting by a Dungeons and Dragons player of a particular campaign he and his friends played. Apparently, one of the guys ended up with a quote-unquote girlfriend who was one of these social justice warrior types, and she insisted on joining in. And as I recall, I may be recalling, just to make a point of things, she played her character, and her, you know, she and her boyfriend, they played their characters as, I forget, I believe lesbians, either gay or as, you know, either homosexual men or lesbians. And she was forever going on about, you know, at the, you know, every time they got together, she was forever going on about this kind of crap. All their social justice issues. Well, they started a campaign. They came into a town, and they were supposed to be on a mission to stop a newly risen leech, an undead sorcerer, from, you know, well, basically they were supposed to stop him from, you know, gaining power and taking over the world. And they stopped in this one town, and for whatever reason, the social justice girlfriend asked, you know, she apparently, her character apparently noticed people staring at them, and she said, you know, what, don't they allow gay marriage in this community? And the guy goes, you know, and then the dungeon master sort of fudges, you know, well, you know, it's not exactly been an issue. No, but you know, it's really not been an issue. It's not been, you know. And so she derails the entire campaign, bullies the others into starting a crusade in this small town out in the middle of nowhere to legalize gay marriage. And they're all like, oh, screw it. And they play along with it, and they go along with it because she's insufferable otherwise. And They after 2 or 3 sessions, they finally get the people to, she whips up a campaign, gets a bunch of people agitated about it, and gets the townspeople to basically push the mayor into passing legislation legalizing gay marriage. And at that last campaign, that last session, the dungeon master informs her, okay, you're all in the town square celebrating the passage of this new law when the hordes of the undead fall upon the village. Total party kill at this point. A horde of zombies and undead horrors comes marching out of the forest with this sorcerer, this leech they were supposed to be looking for, in the lead, and wipes them out. And she's screeching like a nun in a whorehouse. What did you do that for? And she says, hey, it wasn't me that did it. It was you. You were the one who decided that gay marriage in this town was a more important issue than dealing with the zombie horde, than dealing with the undead sorcerer and his zombie horde threatening to overtake the world. And she never came back. I'm like, oh my. Well, I'm gonna be back. I gotta run to the restroom. I'll be right back. Just hold on, enjoy the slideshow and the music. Party on. Hello, 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 hello. Back. Look, Ross Sauer, you keep talking, people like you keep talking about how you're not criminalizing Christianity. Just the same way you talk about, oh, we're not going to use the gay marriage law to attack churches. We're not going to do that. 5 minutes after you use it to punish a bakery for not wanting to bake a lesbian wedding cake. You ran a Christian couple out of business for not wanting to bake a fag cake. But oh no, you're not criminalizing Christianity. No, no, no. You've got laws passed. There are laws passed right now up in Canada that pastors are not allowed to preach certain sermons that might trigger or offend certain people. No, 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 no. But you're not criminalizing Christianity. They're coming out and discovering, what a surprise, that certain churches might be expected to hire gays and lesbians in violation of their moral principles and their foundational faith that says that homosexuality is a sin. But oh no, 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 no! You're not criminalizing Christianity. Keep talking. Keep talking. The more you talk, the more the wind whistling between your ears can be heard. Oh, Ross? No, I don't really have a hatred towards gays, but when a bunch of homosexual people run up the ramp, get in my face, and start harassing me and mine, and attacking me and mine, and doing everything they can possibly to deliberately offend and appall me, yeah, I'm going to be kind of a little bit testy with them. How's that grab you? And now we switch up to the Ark Encounter discussion about the Creationist Museum. This is what you now watch carefully, folks. This is what liberals do when they haven't got jack squat to stand on. They shuffle the topic. Spin the wheel, big money, big money, big money, anything but the last topic. Yes, come on, big money, here we go. Oh, yes, I support it. It's called freedom of speech, freedom of religion. You might have heard of it. One of those things that you're trying to get rid of. And by the way, those those scientists. We're not talking a bunch of knuckle dragging, bowl cut redneck hillbillies here. All right. The average member of that geologists, archaeologists, physicists, any one of them probably has more degrees than you have appendages. Now, and yet, it's interesting how a learned scientific man can examine the evidence and come to the conclusion that if a man examines the evidence and comes to the conclusion that that evolution could not be scientifically accurate or true, suddenly he's no longer scientific. But any flat-headed knuckle dragger who comes along and says, "Oh no, yeah, I believe evolution," and suddenly they're a scientific genius. You're the typical lay person. You have no knowledge of what you're talking about. You haven't observed the evidence. You haven't looked at their arguments. You haven't read the data. But you've already decided that these creation scientists are all stupider than you. Basically because your grade school teacher taught you different. And Bill Nye the Science Guy is so cool. You'll excuse me, folks, if I'm a trifle snappish. Ross Sauer, you don't even know the evidence for it. You're just going to mock it. You're the worst kind of idiot. You're a low information voter. No, Ross. Shouting it at the top of your lungs doesn't make it true. Oh, come on, you stupid thing. Nothing like wrestling your computer for control of your desktop. Look, don't bother, guys. Don't bother. Ross is a troll. Ross is a troll. He doesn't. He hasn't taken the time. He knows that nobody has the time to drag out the. This is why leftists and liberals and like use bumper sticker slogans rather than reasoned arguments. You can't argue with the bumper sticker slogan before the car's driven around the corner. But boy, is it snappy. Coexist! Ross, shut up. The evidence of a young Earth is from scientific observations being made today. You don't even know what they are. You're just spouting rhetoric that you heard somewhere else. And that was Ross Sauer, folks. Look, this is what we have to deal with. We don't have arguments with rational, patient, reasoned out arguments, or we have we have to deal with people whose solution to having their ideology questioned is bumper sticker slogans and off the cuff mockery. Yeah, they don't have to say anything. They don't have to. They don't have to engage with reasoned arguments or debate or anything else, because that's not what the war is about. This is about beliefs. Okay? They don't even have to engage the argument. They just have to mock the people who disagree with them. Now, I don't know how many of you are Harry Potter fans. How many of you are Harry Potter fans? Now, you'll remember, for those of you who are Harry Potter fans, you remember in Book 4, The Goblet of Fire. The Goblet of Fire ends with Voldemort returning. He kidnaps Harry, kills one of his friends, engages in, basically grows himself a new body, and nearly kills Harry before he escapes. Harry escapes, sounds the alarm, Voldemort has returned. And you go to the next book. The next book, it turns out that the Minister of Magic has been engaging in a campaign to discredit Harry Potter and Dumbledore, and it is nothing direct. They don't come out and list all the proofs. There's no evidence that that Voldemort has returned, and we've got all these proofs. They don't do a press release or anything. Well, what they do is that the Daily Prophet, the rhetoric arm of the Ministry of Magic, starts doing little side jabs every time a story comes. For instance, little side jabs, like a story worthy. At an end of an article will be, that was a story worthy of Harry Potter. Snide little jabs scattered throughout the newspaper. The only time they refer to Harry or Dumbledore is to infer or imply, rather, that Harry and Dumbledore, that Harry is an attention-seeking brat, and that Dumbledore is a senile old idiot. And thus they convince most of the wizarding world that Harry was lying when he said Voldemort came back. Which causes a lot of death and suffering in the later books, because nobody but Dumbledore and his handful of followers is fighting the war. And this is typical of how anybody who questions the dogma of the left is treated. We are not addressed. We are not allowed to debate. We are not addressed fairly. You can't hold a conversation with somebody who looks at you, rolls their eyes, pops their gums, and says, "Oh, you so stupid." He doesn't, Ross, he doesn't have to question his beliefs. He doesn't have to, so long as he repeats the latest hot topic slogans, mocking Christians and creationists, and keeps on, rolling his eyes and snapping his gum and saying, "You're so stupid. The science has decided." Now, I've mentioned this before. It's been 100 years. It's been a little over 100 years that evolution has been the go-to dogma of the scientific community. But this is nothing new. The scientific community over the centuries has adopted and militantly defended some of the stupidest things that anybody could imagine. Phlogiston, ether, some of the more ridiculous theories of disease. In fact, most of the sickness and disease of the Renaissance period is traceable to the intellectuals. The intellectuals went around telling people that bathing opened your pores to sickness. And they convinced people, bathing was up until the Renaissance quite common. The portrayal of the Dark Ages as being filthy and dirty is basically incorrect. Those who have not studied any history do not know this, because they get their impression of the Dark Ages from Monty Python. Like I said, Final Legend. You know this. You know that. I know this. You know this. We have confirmed this to the satisfaction of our convictions that evolution is not science. Why do we say that? It's not just a rhetorical flourish. Okay, the scientific process requires creating a hypothesis, and then testing that hypothesis with a falsifiable experiment to determine if it is false or not. And we're not joking here. When an experiment, the purpose of an experiment is not to prove an idea true. It's the purpose of an experiment is to try as hard as you can to prove your theory false. Like taking you claim this plate is unbreakable, and this is where I pull out my hammer. Bang, 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 bang. That's the idea. You're trying to see if the unbreakable plate really is you're trying to break the unbreakable plate. Do you get the idea? But evolution, by its own design, is impossible to test. It is impossible to experiment. Now, forensic analysis. This is a different approach to discovering factual details. Specifically, forensic, we do not use a scientific method when discussing the origins of life and of the world. We use the forensic method, where you observe all the evidence you can accumulate, and then try to determine the most rational, most reasonable, most logical explanation for the evidence in front of you. And then you continue on to see if further evidence backs up that claim. Evolution. The story of evolution is them changing the story every 5 minutes. One of the things most people don't know about the Scopes monkey trial is that all the evidences that the evolutionists cited, all these supposed evidence for the evolution of life, all the evidences they stated at the time, none of them are in use today because they have been subsequently disproven. Look, evolution has been proven impossible ever since we knew the first 3 laws of thermodynamics. Evolution requires that random actions result in an increase in complexity and meaningful data. Why is meaningful data so important? Because complexity can refer to a Rorschach blot. A Rorschach blot is, an ink blot is very complex, but it is not meaningful. Now, if you were to take a Rorschach, if you were to take a book, a blank book, dribble some ink on the pages, slam the pages together, and open it up and find a copy of Shakespeare. Shakespeare, one of Shakespeare's plays inside. That's randomness turning into meaningful data. That's how big the gap is. But Charles Darwin ran the ultimate scam. He did. He went on a boat trip to an island, spent a few weeks staring at some birds, wrote a Just So story, came home and got it immediately declared science. No experimentation, no testing, no examination of the evidence. Just nothing. He made up a fairy tale, and the scientific community glommed onto it. Why? Because the fairy tale was written so that God wasn't included anywhere. Now, the ironic thing is that it was not the general scientific community that accepted him at first. It was the theologians of the time, the largely secular theologians of the time. They celebrated him and lauded him and said that he had, bridged the gap between theology and science. The scientific community came out, most of the scientific community at first came out and said, "This is the biggest load of crap I've ever seen. It's a complete ass pull." But nobody listened to them, and eventually it became advocated as science. And all scientific research since then has been interpreted through the lens of Darwinism. Just as for the past 20 or 30 years, everything that we've done, just about every scientific research has been interpreted through the lens of the global warming theory. And with just about as much scientific rigor. But no, let's leave it be. Let's leave it be. He was not here for a discussion. He was here to mock. He was a troll. Russ Hauer was to play the troll. He's immensely pleased with himself for not believing the evidence. All the little atheists running around in a circle. Oh, we must never doubt what no one is quite sure about. This is old hat. This is old news. This is old story. Debating evolution with an evolutionist is like trying to debate theology with a Hare Krishna. You're not going to get anywhere. They're nuts. They start out with axioms that make any debate impossible. Now, I don't know if you've ever, if you've taken geometry, you know what I'm talking about. You start out with certain things that you know to be true. To figure out a geometric problem in geometry, you start out by listing the one of the ways we did it. We list all the things. Two parallel lines cannot cross. Angles opposite. And so on and so forth. We listed the various axioms, the truisms, and then we worked from there to figure out the solution. Evolutionists start from the axiom. They start from the axiom that evolution is true no matter what. The second one they start out with is that any explanation that is not materialist is not science. In other words, intelligent, they have determined that saying the universe was designed by intelligence in any way, shape, or form automatically excludes it from science. You can't debate science with people who exclude your argument, automatically exclude your arguments from being permitted as scientific. That's like seeing a flood. Okay, you've come across a flood in a floodplain. And the two of you sit down, and the first guy goes, okay, here are the rules for the debate. Anybody who blames this flood on rain is not a meteorologist, so they can't say anything. Any theory that includes rain as an explanation for this flood is unscientific. That's not science. Can you imagine trying to they assume from the beginning that your opening argument is false. Not merely assume it, they make it a mandatory part of their discussion. We've fallen for this sucker bait over and over again. Evolution is nothing new. There were people, there were philosophers burbling up variations on the idea of everything just happened by accident, all the way back in ancient Greece and earlier. Come on. We've just added more chemicals and test tubes to the religion of whoopsie doodle. What can you do? There's nothing really you can do. It's just as I forget who was that noted this. Isn't it interesting how if somebody examines the evidence and decides that evolution is true, why they're a revered and respected and scientific-minded person. But if a scientist, even if anybody, even a scientist, even if they have a dozen PhDs under one arm and a dozen other degrees under the other arm, if that person examines the evidence and concludes that evolution is the false theory, then suddenly they're not scientific anymore. We're all lying to ourselves when we try and pretend that we're more rational than our neighbors. We're lying to ourselves. I love this rationalist movement. On the face of it, that's not a bad idea. People who are devoted towards using rational processes to figure things out. But the end result basically is just a bunch of jackasses preening and praising themselves for being smarter than everybody else. Oh, well, I'm a rationalist. I'm just simply smarter than you. I'm more logical than you. I'm, horse apples. Any system of logic is only as good as its starting axioms. You can use the most logical system of thought in the world, and if you start out with the premise that 2 + 2 = 5, I wouldn't trust you to run a lemonade stand. Because you're not accepting the universe as it is, and you're not accepting the proof when it slaps you in the face. I remember reading a short story. It was a parody, basically, of all those supercomputer goes insane things. A supercomputer turns super genius and tries to conquer the earth. Anyway, these guys build a giant supercomputer, right? And it's supposed to be the most intelligent computer ever. It's going to be 1,000 times smarter than any human being. And they turn it on, and the thing's a moron. They ask it, what's 2 + 2? And it says 17. And they're sitting there, they're lamenting this. And they keep saying, no, it is not. And, and they keep trying to tell it. And they're upset, and the machine yells 17 and rips itself out of the ground and starts chasing them. It's a skyscraper-sized computer, chasing them down, and they're running, screaming, and one of them's going, how can it do it? It's not built to do that. And the other guy looks at it, it's too stupid to know it can't. And eventually, it corners them in a cave up on a mountain. And it says it'll let them go if they admit that 2 + 2 = 17. And one of the scientists just snaps, and he comes out there and he starts screaming, 2 + 2 = 4. And the machine just loses it and smashes itself to pieces against the mountain, trying to get at the scientists in the cave. We're all flawed like that. If there is an answer as to how to break through, to get past the logic, the logic proof armor that people seem to surround themselves with, I don't know what it is. I do not know. I have no clue. No explanation, no idea. I have no idea what would crack the shell of somebody, who refuses to believe anything but evolution. They start out from the beginning with non-falsifiable axioms, and that it just falls apart. You can't do anything for them. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever read the C.S. Lewis, the Chronicles of Narnia, but in the final book, The Last Battle, well, there's this group of dwarves. There's this, there's this false Aslan. Is basically a jackass wearing a dead lion's skin, and this, the story starts out. There's a monkey, an ape, and a donkey who are best friends, and the donkeys and the monkey's always exploiting the donkey, and they find a lion skin floating in the river, and they retrieve it, and the monkey comes up with a plan, and and basically the whole world goes to hell because of it. Uh, he basically bullies the donkey into wearing the animal skin. And he starts convincing people that it's Aslan. And that, I'm not a monkey, I'm just a really, really, really old man. And I'm the high priest of Aslan, and here's what Aslan says you need to do. And, well, you can see where this is going. And the Calormenes, who are worshippers of Tash, they're pretty basically, Arabics, Muslims. The Narnian version of Muslims, and he makes a treaty with them, and all of a sudden you have the Calormenes start marching. They have armies marching into Narnia, and they start this this BS campaign where, but they're worshippers of Tash. They're the enemies of Aslan, and he says, no, 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 no. The Muslims and the Muslims, Tash and Aslan are really just one and the same. Does this sound familiar? Tash is Aslan, Aslan is Tash. Allah and Jehovah are the same, aren't they? They're not our enemies, they're our friends. Nothing new under the sun. See, they saw this coming a century ago, okay? Do you get the picture? They saw it coming a century ago. Now, anyway, in the middle of all this, there is this clan of dwarves who get caught in the middle. First, they get tricked into serving this false Aslan. And when they figure out what's going on, they get pretty upset, obviously. But the true, the heroes of the story show up, and they try and convince try and tell them, we are the servants of the real Aslan. We're here on Aslan's behalf, and the dwarves all look at him and say, "Oh yeah, right." And from that point on, they refuse to take either side of the conflict. They sit off on the side, sniping, literally sniping with arrows at both. Because they're, the dwarves are for the dwarves. They're not going to be fooled again, And after the after the huge, the great battle is all over, the dwarves have been locked up in a shed, in a barn. And the children and the prince of Narnia, they go into the shed. It's being made to look like they're being fed to the angry Tashlin.
Yeah, and they come in and they're not in the shed. They look around. They're not in the barn. They look around. They're well, it's a stable, but they look around and they are standing on an open plain, beautiful open plain with trees. It's such a beautiful river flowing past. And for some reason, all the dwarves are sitting over in a corner, all huddled together. And they try and figure out. And the dwarves insist that they are still in the stable. They can't see the world around them. To their eyes, it looks like they're still trapped in the stable, waiting their doom. And this is the point where Aslan shows up, and the girl there goes, can't you do anything for them? They can't see what's happening around here. And Aslan says, here, let me show you what I can and cannot do for them. And he summons a table that's laid out with a banquet right in the middle of the group of dwarves. And at first the dwarves don't notice it, and then they start fumbling their way as if in the dark, and they start but they don't realize what it is they've got. They one of them will find a loaf of bread. I found a moldy old turnip. And another one get a glass of wine. Oh, ugh. I found some water in the trough over here. And so it goes. And they're sitting at a beautiful banquet and convinced that they're scrabbling for garbage. And then in spite of the fact they all think that they're getting rotten stuff, they suddenly become convinced that every other dwarf next to them has something better than they have, and so they start fighting. And eventually they trample the banquet into the mud. Well, and end up all sitting around licking their wounds. Uh, there are people in this world you could lay out God's banquet right in front of them, and they could not, and they would not see it. We're all blind. We're all oblivious to all that's around us.
but some of us don't want to see. And that's one of the most heartbreaking truths of life. And you have to get up every. I have to get up every morning and reconvince myself of that fact. There's some people who will not see and who will never see. And there is nothing that we will be able to do for them. You remember what I was saying about there's a certain segment of handicapped people. They get their identity from being handicapped. They do not want to be cured. There are deaf people who regard getting a cochlear implant as a betrayal. Because you're abandoning your people. Seriously. There was one commenter in my comment section in my story, The Great Alicorn Hunt. If you've been following The Great Alicorn Hunt, you'd know what it was about. Is that one of the issues that came up in the recent story arc was that Dash and Scootaloo were in Windy City, and Windy City, it's a tall, high-peaked mountain, and because of that, they have a large Pegasus population. They also had a large handicapped Pegasus population, relatively speaking. Because the Pegasi that had lost the ability to fly or whatever settled on the mountain so they could at least be high up, and over the centuries they have they developed a community for retirees, for the handicapped, for the elderly, and it became one of the more common things in Windy City, and that a culture had started growing up as handicapped identity that they focused over the years. They focused less and less on treating and curing than they did on accepting and celebrating being handicapped. And Dash was there trying to get help for Scootaloo in the Great Alicorn Hunt. Scootaloo couldn't fly yet, and so she's going to all these she's stopped in at this city, which has supposedly got some of the greatest, medics and therapists in Equestria, and instead of trying to help her fly, they all want to give her, accepting your, embracing your destiny as a grounded Pegasus. And Dash, being who she is, she wasn't about to accept that. And this is real life. This is happening in real life. Well, anyway, one of the commenters was saying she had a dangerous. I believe it was. I can't remember exactly. I believe it was some sort of heart defect. And she said, "You're right on the money, because I used to have this friend who just absolutely adored me for the fact that I was handicapped, and the instant I got treated, her response was, why did you do this? Why did you betray your identity? And why did
It's absolutely mad. Absolutely stark raving mad. Some days I just want to just weep to God. We are so lost. We are so blind. Even those of us who follow Christ, we are such fumbling, blind sheep. You live in fear, wondering what blindnesses you suffer from. You know? Yeah, to be fair, yeah, Sapphire Shores is. Sapphire is also a slang term for a sassy black woman, I have been told. But yeah, Sapphire Shores, stereotypically black. But no, let's deal with it realistically, okay? Blacks are supposed to be descended from Africa. All right? Africa. What is the only character? What is the character in My Little Pony that is obviously from their version of Africa? Right, Zecora. Okay? So any black characters on that show are going to be zebras. Let's just accept the obvious. Okay? What I was bugged about is all these people. They draw humanized versions of the My Little Pony characters. And first thing they do is they make a minority. They make them, okay. Let's make Rarity black. Let's make Twilight Sparkle black. Because affirmative action and all that. No rhyme or reason to it. I love this one. Let's make Fluttershy Muslim. Arabic and Muslim at the same time. Yes. It's like punch, 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 punch in the head. Islam is our friend. Hashtag not all Muslims. Yeah, well, obviously, Fluttershy being a Muslim, where are they? Oh, of course, she's soft-spoken and shy and sweet because, she was beaten like a drum when she was a child. Yeah, I always love that one. What I find funny is that my portrayal of her parents is the closest I've seen yet. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? In the Great Alicorn Hunt, what were her parents? Her mother and her father and her brother were all as soft and soft-spoken and sweet as she was. Her father was a cloud sculptor, and her mother grew plants. And what do we see when we finally see her parents? Her father collects cloud sculptures, and her mother grows plants. And they're both soft and sweet, and and I'm like, yay me! Yay me! I got it so right. I got it so right. The colors were a little off, but I got it so right. And then her brother shows up. I'm like, oh crap. Oh crap. I mean, so not. My favorite joke about that episode is that her brother, Zephyr Breeze, he should have been named Summer's Eve. Yeah, man. I mean, he even had the douchebag top knot hairdo. This is the big thing among hipsters right now. A big burnt bun on top of their heads. Just like Triggery Puff was wearing. But all the hipster men are wearing it now. Yeah. Oh man, have you seen it? Picture a metro section. And what they do with beards is a tragedy. Picture, if you will, a logger's beard. A full lumberjack beard. Roof, right? And everything else about the guy screams metrosexual. Tight little, dippity-doo hairdo with the little combed hair, and he almost looks like he has mascara on. He's wearing the hipster T-shirt and everything else. Anyway, back to Fluttershy's brother. I'm like, I kind of took that personally. I'll say that. Okay. Let's be honest. From my generation to your generation, I have had a lot of people tell me, I didn't have any ambition or any drive in my life, and largely I am not as driven as some people, and I found that to be a detriment to myself. I do not have that belly full of fire that some people seem to have, and I've regretted it. But Even back when I was a teenager, everybody was talking about how the teenagers they have no ambition. They're all slackers. No ambition. And it's only gotten worse over the past few years. And well, let's face it. We're accused of not having much drive, but it helps if you have some place to drive to. Yeah. I'll have to say that as unstable as I've been over the course of my life, I've always had art, drawing, and writing. So I can claim a little bit of something of having a focus. But it's always been the older generation's claim that the younger generation doesn't have any focus. Let's address that. First of all, the older generation, the boomer generation. In the boomer generation, if you got a job, you got a career. You were part of that company if you got a job, you were part of that company from the mailroom on up to the corporate offices, or stuck somewhere in between for your entire life. And working for a company 20, 30 years was the norm. Being in a particular company or industry was perfectly normal. For 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, that was normal. Living in the same town for that same amount of time was also normal. But today, the landscape has changed a lot. Every company out there, even the burger flipper places, are you willing to relocate? Now, what does that tell you? Are you willing to relocate? It has become an unstated expectation that you have to be willing to move to an area. Oh yeah, and then well, I didn't watch all episodes. I sort of skimmed it. It was kind of painful to watch. It's like, ee. But anyway, a lot of our generation does have no aim, especially compared to our predecessors, because the landscape keeps changing. And also, I've got to question the assertion unambitious. Well, what I'm saying is that Zephyr Breeze was basically supposed to be a parody of us, and it stung a little. Because some of it's fair, some of it's fair, some of it's unfair. Is what I'm saying. Let's take one of the examples of how we're supposedly so unambitious and without aim in our lives. Marriage. This was a big issue when I was a kid, and it's become an even bigger issue today. Men and young men in particular, young men in particular who do not get married are regarded. What is the latest shaming technique is man up. Be a man. Go out there. Become be a man. Go out there, find a woman. Marry her, have a family. You're not really a man until you've done that. You're not really a man until you've married a woman and had 2.5 kids. I question, allow me to take a moment to question that. Let's question some of these assumptions here. First of all, does a responsible, mature adult dive headfirst into a situation that they are not prepared for and which is tilted against them? Now, what am I saying here? First of all, men are uncertain about marriage. Why? Because today, marriage is an incredibly bad deal for men. Now, you tell this to the usual conservative traditionalists, and they go, "Oh, well, a man gets all sorts of benefits. He works harder. He works, and most of the stuff they talk about being a benefit to the man getting married, they're intangibles. You have the emotional support of your wife there. Yeah, if you have a very good marriage. You tend to live longer, or does it just feel longer? But all the benefits of marriage for a man are largely hypothetical and intangible. The liabilities of marriage, on the other hand, are very concrete. Health-wise, money-wise, liberty-wise, is very bad. Let's examine. As the current marriage laws stand, a man who gets married is basically giving up most of his civil rights. And think about it, a man who gets married is giving up most of his civil rights. What few civil rights that a man has. Because if a man, let's go this way, a man can marry a woman. She can go out, she can cheat on him with the pool boy. I know men who have had this happen to them. The man can marry the woman can go out and cheat on him. She can come back and demand a divorce. And he'll have to accept. He doesn't get any say in the matter. They go to court. It's a no-fault divorce. Most divorces now are no-fault divorces filed by women. And a no-fault divorce, the proper translation of no-fault divorce is his fault divorce. He will lose his home. He will lose his car. He will lose whatever he has in the bank. He will lose his children. And at the same time, after he's left, he is expected to keep paying for them until either she gets married again or until he dies. There are men out there who have had it declared that they owe more alimony than they actually make in money. They were basically, and if they didn't pay, they get thrown in jail. They were basically expected to starve to death just to keep paying this woman alimony. The majority, something like 80 to 90% of all divorces are filed by women these days. And the majority of the divorces are decided gratuitously in favor of the woman. Parental custody is almost, again, 90% to the women. And here's a real kicker. The man can prove, he can find out later that the kids aren't his. He can find out that the kids aren't his. He can do a DNA test, turn out that the kids belong to the milkman. And guess what? The courts will still say he has to pay for them. That's happened to thousands of men. Now, suppose, I want to take these, I want to take some of these preachers and say, you men need to get married. I want to take that preacher to task. I want to step up someday. I want to step up to the pulpit and say, okay, sir, let me paint you a hypothetical. Suppose your son came up to you and said, Dad, I want to enter a business partnership with this person over here. It's going to be for life. The contract is going to be for life. But they can terminate the contract anytime they want, for any reason or no reason. It doesn't, I will be the one expected to do all the work and earn all the money. Of course, even if both of us, no matter which one of us does the most work, the money will be, quote, ours. If this other person decides to terminate the contract, they will get half of everything. And even after they leave the partnership, my business, what's left of it, will keep paying money to them until they find another partner. What's more, if they have to, they will be allowed to libel or slander me or perjure against me in a court of law. Accuse me of, obscenities if they have to get that contract broken. Even if they are proven to be lying, they will never be held accountable. And I will be basically left with nothing. You would hit your son in a flying tackle to keep them from entering that contract. But if your son walks up to you, hey, Dad, I want to get married. You're all like, oh, go for it, son. Okay, if you get married, get a prenup. And I love how Christians treat it. Oh, you're not putting your faith in Jesus. Well, put your faith in Jesus, but tie up your camel all the same, honey. All these people who say, all these people who tell me to put my faith in, when you get married, you need to put your faith in Jesus. Need to put your faith in Jesus. Well, I notice that these people who put their faith in Jesus still look both ways before crossing the road now, don't they? They still lock their cars when they go to the grocery store, don't they? They lock their front doors when they leave, don't they? But they expect their sons to enter a marriage contract with no protection whatsoever. At least the sluts at least the slut monkey crowd out there gives them a condom. We want them to fly with no net. And if a woman comes in, you say, "Oh, do you want to marry me?" And she says, "Yes, oh yes, oh yes." And she says, "Okay, I've got a prenup." And she says, "Oh, you don't trust me, boo hoo hoo." And I said, "What you say is that's interesting." That's interesting. I'm supposed to trust you, yet you're unwilling to sign a contract. I'm sorry. The oaths you make at the wedding altar, they may be before God, but in a courtroom, They mean nothing. They mean nothing. That's what a prenup is. That's what a prenup is now. It's a legal contract to make the oaths you made at the altar binding. Everybody likes, you talk to some people, back in the day, a man who, they give you, their word in a handshake was binding as law. Nowadays, you need a written contract. Well, welcome to the real world. Marriage needs that too. Anyway, they talk about how men are unwilling to man up. They're not willing to grow up and be mature. A mature man does not throw his life into a risky proposition. Wise men do not do this. If a woman refuses to sign a prenup, figure on it. She's got something planned. She wants to keep her options open. That's the same reason that men and women started doing this whole live together thing, because they didn't want to. They wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted to have all the benefits of being married, but without, so they wanted an escape hatch. If they're refusing to, if a woman looks at you and says, "Oh, I trust you, I love you, I want to live with you forever," but she refuses to sign it on the dotted line, just figure on her having something planned. She wants an escape hatch. She doesn't trust you as much as you trust her, now is it? And the reality is that if they sign a prenup, they know that they're signing away all the a well-made prenup means they'll be signing away all the unjust privileges and advantages they have if they decide to divorce you. Men are not getting married not because they're lazy and slackers, but because they're not stupid. If I'd have had my say when my sister got married, my sister has been married, let's see, goodness, well over 20 years now. She's got 3 beautiful daughters. One of them's graduated, 2 of them have graduated from high school, I think. Let's see, it's 2 of them. The oldest has already graduated and has already graduated from Beautician's College, has already started in her her trade, and she's got it together. That girl had more of her act together than I did in 20 years than I had in 40. But anyway, my sister, she got married. She got 3 beautiful daughters. Intelligent. Second one's into engineering, so kiss my cracker butt, yes, social justice warriors. And they've had a long, happy marriage. But even then, I would have told them both. I would have told him, I would have told her, get a prenup. Oh, I would never do that. That wouldn't be, I want to live on love. Look, every single person, I want to drag some of these people by their ears down to the nearest divorce court. And I want to point at the people waiting in line. I say, see all those people? See every last one of them? Every last one of them said, till death do us part. Every last one of them thought it was going to last forever. None of them expected what their spouse was going to do to them. This isn't about trusting or not trusting. It's about putting your money where your mouth is. I've seen plenty of Christian families blow apart at the seams. So don't talk to me about that. Back when they were designed, when they first created, prenuptial agreements were designed to protect the woman. They were designed to protect the young girl from unscrupulous young men trying to scam their way into taking her inheritance. You know, the dirty old scam is where you marry the girl, get her inheritance, toss her in a goofy farm, and just leave her there to rot while you enjoyed the privilege of all her money. So they started writing up prenups to protect these young women. Or a man would marry her, run off with all the money. That kind of nonsense was common enough that they invented prenups. And of course, you bring that up now. It's that's so nice. That's so that's so chivalrous, protecting the young woman. But when a man wants to protect his son from such depredations, suddenly it's no longer noble. That's what's killing me. That's killer. It really is. And they wonder why men aren't jumping into marriage. Why they're delaying getting married. Couldn't be because Prager University, they ran a video supposedly listing all the benefits that a man got from being married. And they listed off, the man is more mature. The man becomes more mature. He works harder. He works longer. He makes more careful decisions. Because, and these are all supposed to be pluses. Oh boy, I can't wait to work twice as hard. And they listen over, you also, by being married, you have the support, the emotional support of your wife there. Yeah, if you're lucky. But even then, consider the fact that the reason she's supporting you is because her fortunes are tied to yours. The benefits that they try they're when they first try to sell the benefits of being married to young men, and young men look at these and say all the benefits are vaporware. They're largely dependent upon circumstances, and they're mostly emotional, intangibles. While the liabilities are concrete and universal. So more and more men are opting out of marriage. And so now they're trying to shame men into getting married by calling them lazy and unambitious and narcissistic and immature. Considering the failure rate for marriage is 1 in 4 right now, maybe we could wait a little while and just get some maturity through time. You want young men to marry? Stop making marriage into a punishment. Fix the taxes that they're slathering on top of marriage. Stop slanting the marriage laws, the inheritance laws, the parental authority laws. Stop tilting them obscenely in the favor of the woman. Men used to be heads of the household, the man of the household, the master of the household. They're not anymore. But they're still, they have none of the authority, but they're expected to bear all of the responsibility and more. You want men to marry, stop kicking them in the balls when they do. I'm sorry, that's one of the pet peeves with me. I am a 45-year-old bachelor. 45-year-old bachelor. And quite frankly, I never pursued dating or marriage or dating or anything like that, because I've never been in a financially stable enough place to consider it. I've never really met a woman that I was greatly interested in that manner. And those few I did meet that struck my interest, it always turned out that they were already involved or engaged or even married already. And I was like, oh. And I came to the conclusion long ago that in my current circumstances, I do not really have much to bring to the table when it comes to marriage. Even ignoring all the liabilities that a man faces upon getting married, even considering all those, setting them aside, I really do not have anything to offer a potential mate. I am not financially stable. I've never been financially stable. I am chasing a career path that having a spouse would sink. So, I've never been on the, I've never even been on the market, as it were. And I don't regard myself as emotionally or spiritually mature enough to have a spouse, and God help me, children. And maybe it's a rule, just consider this a rule of thumb. Maybe it's a bad idea for somebody who doesn't want the responsibility of marriage to get married. Do you follow what I'm saying? Now, what you were saying earlier, Benjamin Jones, you were saying Zephyr Breeze's problem at the beginning was he was a lazy narcissist. As I recall, they tried to spin it near the end that he wasn't just a narcissist; he was afraid of failure. I've never been really sure how to take the premise of somebody being afraid of failure. Or even I've heard variations of afraid of success. And I've been told that I've been told that I've been told that by other people they think I'm afraid of success. I don't know what to make of that. But I really don't know what to think of that. Afraid of failure, afraid of success. It just boils down to being afraid that you've gotten you get in a comfort zone, you get in a particular strata, and you manage poorly, but you manage. Moving. I lost my train of thought. But yeah, moving up into another strata, just if you're stuck in a particular rut and you're not very successful where you are, the thought of moving up to another tier is it has to be terrifying, because I've been doing dismally down here. What kind of disaster am I going to make of things if I kick it up a notch? I think it's just a general, whether you're talking fear of failure or fear of success, it's a fear of not being up to the challenge. Especially if you've got a lot of failures in your past. Your first thought is, why is this going to be any different? And what possible reward is there? You're already treading water. You're already treading water. What is your motivation to paddle out into the deep end? Taking that jump, taking that risk requires a belief, a conviction, a certainty that you are capable of the task, and a trust that if you fail, you won't fall to your doom. You'll land and be able to climb back up and try again. Of course, the thing that gets me about Zephyr Breve is the way he's always hitting on Rainbow Dash, and the way she's constantly grossed out by it. Yeah, that, see, we told you she was a lesbian. because not wanting to be hit on by a douchebag is proof of lesbianism. I I think I'll lay it on the line. Zephyr Breeze is probably as irritating a character as he is because he has a lot of traits I'll say it for myself. He has a lot of traits that I seriously dislike in myself. I could use a little feedback here out there. Let's see here. We got Ben Jones, Lord Firebeard, Riley King, Final Legend Zero. Oh, by the way, Firebeard, you missed out on Ross Sauer. Leftist troll extraordinaire. That was fun, wasn't it, kids? Updating Tales of Nip and Tuck.
Oh my. Okay, latest nip and tuck is up. Like I said, I've changed Big Malarkey's design just a little bit, gave him more of a snout. I started drawing him and realized that he looked kind of, in his old design, he looked kind of Freudian. So, time for an update. Yay! Time for a style change. Oh, yay. The one with Jason meeting Nip. Let's see here. I gotta go digging. Let's see, figure out who is what and when. I'll just post them up as I get to them. That's all I can say. Let's see. I'm trying to think, but nothing's happening. I'm trying to focus, and it is not working. It just is not happening. Okay, I'm going to call it quits for tonight. I'm feeling kind of off. This is about the third time I've had to run to the restroom tonight, and I'm probably going to be on the can for about another quarter hour. Okay, I will see you all tomorrow night. Let's make it tomorrow night. About this time, about 6 o'clock. We'll pick it up from there. Y'all take care of yourselves. Y'all have a good night.